Hello and welcome back to another Oasys Top Tips. Did you know that you can save animations of analyses in D3PLOT and also embed animations in Reporter? Today I'm going to show you how you can write out animations from D3PLOT and also how you can embed them within a Reporter template. To start with, I'm just going to play the animation by clicking the play button down here. I could also use the space button to pause and to play. Now that I've seen that animation and I'm happy with it, I'm just going to pause it and then bring it back to the first state. And then I have two options now. I can either click on the Images tab at the top here and then go to Movies, or I can access this by pressing W, which opens up this side pane, and I might need to then click across to Movies because it defaults to the Images there unless I've previously opened the Movies tab. The Images/Media Export pane presents me with various options for how to write out my animation. To start with, it gives me options of what pages I want to write out. So all pages, in this case I've only got one, so that's grayed out. And the current page, all visible active windows or only a selected window. In this case I only have one window and one page, so all of these options would be the same. Next, I have the option to select the file name to write out to, as well as the file format. The supported formats are MP4, GIF, and AVI. To start with, I'm just going to show you MP4. There's then a checkbox which you can select to force the background to be white, which you might want for your animations even if you're using a different theme which has a black background. Then there's the frame rate of the animation. So if I scroll to the end of the animation and see I have 62 plot states, the animation will take just over 2 seconds. I then have the option of setting the states that I want to write out. So I can either use all states or a few other presets every 2, 3, 5, and 10, or a custom. If I select custom and then scroll down to the bottom, I can click on one and then holding down shift and clicking again, I can deselect some of the states. So in this case, I've selected 50 states. That means my animation will play with just the first 50 states and will last 2 seconds. I can then close this down. There's then an option to set the quality of the animation file that's produced, and this will also affect the size of the file produced. So I tend to just leave it at the default of around about 90%, which looks good but isn't too big. There's then an option of setting how the animation plays, so whether it just plays from start to finish or whether it reverses itself. You will want to choose this option, max, min, max, if you're looking at a modal analysis, so that you can play the whole cycle. And lastly, if I had a THIS session open up as well with some graphs displayed, I could then change the transparency of those graphs so that I can see the animation behind the graphs displayed. Once I'm happy with all my settings, I can then capture the animation and it will play through, showing me the percentage complete. We can see that 50 frames were written to an MP4 file. We can also see that this file name has been incremented in number so that I don't end up overwriting the file that's already been written if I choose to save another animation. I'm now just going to quickly show you the exact same thing but changing this to a GIF. And here we can see I've not had any previous GIF saved, so it's just a d3plot001.gif. And notice one other option has now become visible. So for GIFs, we have the option of how many times they might repeat. If we go for 0, this is just an infinitely repeating GIF. Otherwise, picking any other number will mean it repeats that number of times. In this case, I'm happy for it to repeat infinitely, so I'll capture with 0. And in just the same way, the GIF is captured. Also, just a note for GIFs, they use just an 8-bit color range, so there are some clever techniques to reproduce the image as best as possible. These are either optimized palette or dither image, and the choice of these will depend on the colors in your image and the type of animation that you are capturing. Now I'm just going to briefly show you how you can embed animations within a reporter session, and this is available from Reporter 18. So to start with, I'm just going to click on the Reporter button up here, and this will open a reporter session. I'm then just going to select one of these default executive templates, so I'll use this one here. And it's got various placeholders, so I'm just going to click on one, and then go back to D3PLOT. You can see that placeholder 2 has been selected. We also now see this option to capture the image. Then with the drop down, I can either capture an image, a movie, or a GIF. So before I do that, I'm going to resize, and that's going to grab the size from the reporter session so that it will fill the whole item. I'll then press A to auto center the animation, and now I'm ready to capture. So I'm just going to capture a movie to start with. And going back to reporter, we can see that we have the animation displayed, and pressing the P button to go into presentation mode, we now have play and pause buttons, as well as restart, go to the end, or move forwards a frame. So I can play this and we can see the animation. I'm now just going to show you a few extra tricks of capturing images using reporter items. So I'm going to copy this animation item by clicking on it and doing Control-C, Control-V, and then placing this over the placeholder here. I'm going to delete the placeholder behind and move that into place. And then double clicking on it, I'm just going to increment the name, and I'm just going to call this one SXZ animation. And then I can click on the edit for the command file, and there's a command that basically changes the view so that I have the SXZ view. So that's what I'm going to do. It's as simple as that. OK, and then I'm going to change this to fit object box so that it takes the size of the object box first. Then I'm going to just copy this again and move this to the placeholder here. I'll delete the placeholder behind and widen this. I'm going to do a YZ animation. So this is looking along the length of the car. I'll just change that to YZ here. And I'm also going to change this to a GIF format. Notice the main thing that happens here is it changes the file extension to GIF. I'll then edit this and change it to YZ. Okay. So that's just going to run a command line before the animation is captured to essentially change the view. I'm now ready to recapture all the images, so I'll just generate the page. And now we can see that all the animations have been produced. On the left hand side, we've got a GIF here. We can play that with the play button, and we can see the crash from the rear of the vehicle. We have the top down view here, and this is an MP4, and we have the side view as well. Note that as well as being embedded into the reporter template, the MP4 and GIF files have also been created, so you could use these elsewhere if desired. So that's just been a quick tour of writing out animations in D3PLOT as well as embedding them within Oasys Reporter. I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to you joining me for the next Oasys Top Tips.